Alright, chat, welcome to the show. We actually do have a show today. I didn't have one yesterday. Before beginning, something interesting happened. I don't know, but there was like a loud explosion, probably a tire or something, but like a couple of blocks away. And my wife was panicking and she's like, is it the Russians? And I'm like, yes, probably the Russians. They teleported here. They went past Kiev, they snuck past the border, they traveled another 100 kilometers, and then they got into our backyard to explode stuff. Absolutely. Putler is to blame. By the way, like Putler is an unironic thing. Like the left coined it, right? Because like Hitler, they're not religious people, but Hitler is Satan. Like Hitler is El Demonio, El Diablo. Like no man in the entire human history can rival. Not Genghis Khan, not Stalin. Like no, it's Hitler, the ultimate evil. He did have like animal rights and made the Autobahn and shit. But anyway, right, like the ultimate evil. So like when you want to say someone is bad, it's Putler. Putler. What if it was Stalin? Would it be like Stalinler? Stalinler? How would it? Putler. Anyway, right. Welcome to the show. I'm going to be talking about Mr. Somali today. Did you know that I lost subscribers because of him? Because I dared try to show empathy and compassion. You guys said no. No V. No empathy. Just spite. It's like, if he gets life in prison, if he gets the chair, that is exactly the punishment that the South Korea government should give him. How dare you suggest that he should only get 5 years? No! He should get 5,000. He should be like Illidan. Like Illidan's Storm Rage, trapped for 1,000 years in a cage, you know? And when he finally breaks up, he will have like an Ushikushi South Korean warden to go after him, to imprison him again. Stalinder sounds Indian. Oh, I suppose it does. Do you know that there's a Bollywood movie? I'm not even kidding. Is it Bollywood or Spanish? Like, chat, you know things. Like, every time I try to come up with some trivia, you guys are already on the case. There's I think it's a Hindi movie, a Bollywood movie, where Hitler actually escapes. Like, he escapes the bunker, right? Like, he fakes his death. And then travels to Spain or someplace and has, like, a life there. He has a wife and everything. It's a Bollywood movie. It's the most surreal thing ever. Only an act of the embassy or the president can save Mr. Somali. Well, hold on. Let me see if I can get worse. He escapes, huh? Argentina? Oh, he goes to Argentina. No, that's like the conspiracy. That's an actual conspiracy. Not like criticizing the government. It's an actual conspiracy. Because they never showed the body of the Führer, right? The reason for it is like they didn't want a grave so that people can go there and commemorate. And so what they did instead is that they burned the body, right? But the conspiracy is that he didn't shoot himself. He was actually either allowed to escape by the Allies or he ran away and lived in Argentina. That's an actual historical thing. That's not a movie, right? Like, people actually believe that, right? Like, there are people that have this hypothesis. Which, you know, like, it's not really that extremely far-fetched given the Operation Paperclip and that the Allies did take Nazi scientists. And so, like, maybe they did cut a deal with the Führer. Like, in exchange for valuable information, you get to live in Argentina. Although, I would say it's incredibly implausible because he had such a memorable face that anywhere he would go, like, people would recognize him on the street, so. V, did you see Spoon's last Rumble stream? And his simping for his co-host trashing gamers. I don't care if you trash gamers. Like, I want people like Spoon to hate video games and stay the fuck away from them. You know? Like, I generally don't want more moral busybodies to get with a hobby. Right? If Spoon doesn't like video games, excellent. Perfect. Why does Spoon need to like video games? Like, what's in it for us? What do we gain if Spoon likes video games? No, he should not understand them. He should watch from far away. The only people that I don't agree dissing gamers are game developers. Like, if a game developer pisses on a gamer, then I don't buy his game. That's it. Simple as. But I don't care if Spoons or Matt Walsh or Melody Mac or any other people don't play video games. I think that's good. I think they shouldn't. I think they should hate it. You know, like, the world was a better place when you had, like, outsiders bitching rather than insiders bitching. Because, like, the outsiders, you know, like, the people back in the day when they were complaining about heavy metal or goth or stuff like that, they weren't in the fandom. Like, they weren't in the culture. So, like, it's a lot easier to unify the culture against them. But when it's someone within the culture and is complaining about, like, specific stuff, it's like, oh, I really like goth music. It's just like these whole lyrics that are dark and talk about suicide. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. We need to change that. We need to change that aspect of goth culture. You know, it's like, oh. Did you talk about Johnny Somali? No, I'll probably talk about him in 20 minutes. Matt Walsh is the typical 90-50 boomer. The thing with Matt Walsh is that you gotta wonder, like, what exactly does he like? Like, I listened to his show, and almost systematically, every single thing that's fun, he hates it. Like, he hates video games. He hates anime. He hates movies. He hates this. He hates that. The fuck does he like besides Jesus and fishing? It's like, I understand you want the simple life, but holy shit, if I had to live like you, I would rather not live at all. I would get, like, the Canadian healthcare. It's like, everything that's fun, he hates. And it's like, what type of person? Like, imagine having someone like that as your neighbor or a family member. Jesus fucking Christ. Imagining listening to the daily is he a Smurf? No, I think he puts on a play. I genuinely think that this is like an American cultural mindset where you get points by tearing other people down and tearing down their hobbies. Because at the end of the day, you know, hobbies are trivial stuff that don't mean much in the general aspect of culture. But they mean a lot for the person doing the hobby, right? Like, for instance, knitting. Like, knitting is trivial, right? It's not something that's important for society. But, like, there are people who like to knit, and it's relaxing for them. So, like, taking away knitting from them would get them upset, you know? Like, why fuck with someone's hobby? Why insult someone's hobby? Shipbuilding. I think shipbuilding is ridiculous, you know? Like, the shipbuilding in bottles, I think it's absolutely retarded. But, like, there are people who enjoy that. Why would I shit on it? Now, the thing is, like, there are certain hobbies that may be shameful. You know, like video games, playing violent video games, or video games with fan service. And so, it's really easy to score virtue points by shitting on them. And this is why they do it. It's like, oh, look at me, I said the thing, are you not entertained? Clap for me, you fucking bigots. Look how mortal I am. I picked on fan service. Am I not a pillar of the community? Am I not the bastion of virtue in society? You know? And it's like, I really hate these people. I fucking hate them. There's a German comedy film based on the book called Ist wieder da. He's back. Where he returns to modern-day Germany and gets a TV show. I think I saw that film. Yeah. I wonder, like, how many years must it pass before people can make fun of Putler and Hitler and all that? You know, because, like, it's been, what, like 100 years? Like, do you think 100 years from now people will be able to make fun of all aspects of World War II? Like, literally, in public? The same way we make fun about Genghis Khan, right? Like, no one gets upset if you glorify the conquests of Genghis Khan. You know, it's like, it's back in the past. It's like, video games are pretty much a waste of time. You're not making something, you're just having fun. Yeah, I mean, social media is a waste of time, isn't it? Like, you're, like, going on Twitter and arguing with people, it's incredibly unproductive. Yet people still do it because it's fun. Modern-day Germany is where phone lines exist for snitching on undemocratic opinion. Well, they don't probably use phone lines. They use Starlink, but yeah, I seen that. I seen, like, encouraging phone lines again. They did that during COVID, and people laughed at them. It is what it is. You know, like, someone said something which is interesting. I haven't fact-checked it to see if it's true or not, but apparently, like, authoritarian governments, like, actual monarchies and stuff where, you know, like, it's a dictatorship, it's less invasive in the personal life of people than a democracy. Again, I haven't looked at the stats. I don't know if this is true or not, but in a way it probably makes sense, because in a democracy, the people in power are terrified of the citizens' vote, right? So, like, if a citizen doesn't share the politician's message, if they don't believe in what the politician says, then the politician can lose his seat. It's a really nice and comfortable job to have a seat as a politician. And so they're terrified of this, so they must control every aspect of a person's life. In an authoritarian regime, like if you have a king or something, unless like there's open rebellion, unless like they're organizing to overthrow the king, they don't really give a shit what people do in their personal life. Because like the king doesn't require the votes in order to be re-elected. And so, again, I haven't looked if whether or not this is true. But there may be some level of truth to it. I'll have to do a little bit of research. Let's talk a little bit about South Africa. Right? Like, South Africa is getting what they want. They're getting their monkey paw wish. And I find it very interesting. So this is like before, during, and after.
Donald Trump must leave us alone.
Donald Trump must leave us alone.
He must leave us alone, Kaori.
You said that you were going to
So here we have Donald Trump leaving them alone.
cut aid from South Africa. Will you plan to cut aid across other African nations, and why South Africa?
No, it's only South Africa.
He's going to stop the aid from South Africa, right? So like before, leave us alone! Leave us alone, Donald Trump! And Donald Trump's like, alright, gonna leave him alone.
We are committed to having a good relationship with the United States.
I can see the fear and desperation in the eyes as the taxpayer money from the United States starts going in and the politicians cannot gorge themselves on it. It's like, how can I afford nice suits? How can I afford luxurious items if the taxpayer money from America doesn't pay for it? There's an interesting thing happening in South Africa. Apparently, the Starlink is verboten in South Africa. And the reason is because, well, Elon Musk said it's because I'm not black. Now, a couple of brain dead people on Twitter. See, this is what I don't get with a lot of liberals. Like, when you make an accurate comparison, they're like, apples and oranges. Apples and oranges. You can't compare apple. But when they make a comparison, they completely miss the point. So I see people that are liberals, again, Ukrainian flag in the bio, but they're not in Ukraine. Seriously, like, the Ukrainian flag triggers me so much because, like, in the beginning, I would see it and I was like, oh, a based Eastern European. I probably have so much to talk about. Like, this is a fellow person that, you know, we can talk and we can understand each other. And I would start talking with the person and he would have, like, the most lib shit takes on everything. Like, the most extreme lib shit takes. And then you realize that most of the people with the Ukrainian flag in the bio are from California. And then it's like, oh, fuck. Okay, so, like, this guy also with the Ukrainian flag in California, he basically says, well, America bans TikTok, so why can't South Africa ban Starlink? Oh my goodness. Oh, he made the argument. Shifted 5 mana, played the argument, Dodomeda. You can't win now. You can't win. I mean, that's that. Starlink is infrastructure. It allows people to communicate. The only reason a nation would ban Starlink is if it wants to do some really nasty shit and he doesn't want people communicating with each other, right? TikTok has an algorithm. It promotes certain content over other. The algorithm is secret. You can use Starlink in order to promote a message. You can demoralize people with it. Now, by the way, with that aside, I'm still not in favor of banning TikTok. I don't think TikTok should be banned. I think it's too late. I was in the favor in the beginning. But at this point, I think it's too late. It's too ingrained in culture. You shouldn't ban it. And the only reason that I would advocate for banning it is because China already bans YouTube and other Western websites. So, like, if it can't reciprocate, then get fucked. But, like, it's a different argument than the fact it's like, oh, well, America bans TikTok, so why can't... What the fuck does South Africa have to do with the TikTok in America? Like, is TikTok a South African product? No. Shut the fuck up. No, it's not the same thing. And so, no, like, I generally think that what's going to happen in South Africa is really nasty. And I think it already happened. You can look at Zimbabwe, and we can see what happened there. And you can look at the dekulakization in the Soviet Union and see what happened there. And I think the reason they don't want people to have free internet is because they don't want people to share the news to the outside world. They want to control how people communicate with each other. And that's why you're not going to have Starlink. It doesn't have to do with the fact that Elon Musk is black or whatever. Got a warning from YouTube from commenting on the news comment section, then got blocked from commenting for 24 hours. No explanation of what was unacceptable. No way to contest the decision. That's really weird. I never heard about people getting banned for comments. Also, Starlink is decentralized. It's very difficult to be banned. I don't know the technicality. I know they want to ban it. I don't know how. I assume they're not going to fire at the satellites. So, South Africa is in BRICS. Why do they need Trump's help? Why aren't its allies pitch again? I keep saying that BRICS is a LARP. Like, if you look at BRICS, right? It's not united. It doesn't share a common goal. India plays both sides. Russia tries to muscle itself in. China often disagrees. I mean, maybe in the future it will be something, but like right now, BRICS is meh. And yeah, I mean, you know, like the whole idea of giving aid to South Africa, it's not to help people. It's called soft power. You give aid to countries so that you can change their policy, so that if the country does something you don't like, you stop the aid. And all of a sudden, the country go like, wait, I have been banned for 24 hours for far too many times. What the fuck do you post, man? Common goal is to have the same currency processor instead of using Visa and MasterCard. From my knowledge, all right, like talking with people that work at Wall Street and stuff, Visa and MasterCard are on their way out anyway. The banks fucking hate them. They're the middleman, and in an age of technology, people don't understand why Visa and MasterCard should be relevant. Like, why can't you do the transactions without Visa and MasterCard? Just do direct banking. And so, yeah, like they're not going to do very well in the future. Do we have a Lumi? Is a Lumi in the chat? There is a Lumi. Oh my goodness. Hello, Lumi. Why does a Lumi have a wrench? I'm going to give her a wrench. If she starts abusing it, I'll ban her. Alright. Has Dev turned on Lumi yet? I see that he's turning on people. So he turned on Sargon. I turned on him, so he didn't turn on me. He turned like on Arch's audience. He shit-talked Arch's audience. And the question is like, when are we expecting this, Lumi? When is he going to turn on you? You need to say something. Do you need to say something positive about Trump before he turns on you or not? How does it work? I got my comments about Starmer removed. Oh, well, that makes sense. If I was to talk about Starmer, I would get removed myself. If I was to say what I think about Starmer, he would probably send the British police, the Billies to send for an extradite order. To take me to Britain. Because I've been very naughty. What did they call him there? Two-tier Kier. Right? Two-tier Kier. By the way, speaking of South Africa, let's take a journey through time. and look at some of the article headlines that I collected, right? So you can understand what's to be expected. So, Mugabe, whites cannot own land in Zimbabwe, right? This was in 2014. I lived through those times. I remember it. I was like, wow, how can we have so much social justice in America? And they don't even take like 5 minutes to address this issue. Like, they must be so preoccupied with the social justice in America that they don't have energy for other places. But literally 1 year, like it took 1 year, and Mugabe is asking back the white farmers he chased away. Apparently they didn't come back, so Zimbabwe pleads for 1.5 billion in food aid to prevent mass starvation. Zimbabwe begs white farmers to return as country plunges into famine. This was in 2016. Zimbabwe doomed without whites. Holy shit, they became white supremacists. They became white supremacists, chat. Like, Mugabe did it. Mugabe, like, he had a 4D chess move there. He tried. Zimbabwe to start paying white farmers compensation after April. And they finally agreed to pay $3.5 billion compensation to white farmers. Where the fuck do they have so much money, though? Like, how can you have $3.5 billion and still a famine? Whatever, you know. Like, can't you at this point just, like, kidnap some Chinese people and get them to farm? I don't know. Must there be whites? Like, you can get, like, other nations if you don't like white people. I'm just saying, you know. I'm pretty sure, like, people in Botswana know how to farm. Anyway.
We do relate to them.
Shut up.
In a number of ways.
Shut up. Trump offered to take in the Boers. Maybe well, yeah, the thing with farming, it's like one of those things where it's a generational issue, right? Like, farming, it's not just something that you read in a book and then you can apply. You need to know the land. Like, every land has its own particularities. There are certain things you must learn, and it's usually like a generational thing, right? Like, you're going with daddy, and he's farming, and you're going with him since you're 10. And then by the time you're 20, you kind of get how the farm works and all of that. And especially farming in Africa, it's incredibly difficult. It's not like farming in Europe. Like, no, you have the tsetse fly, you have, like, a lot of shit, you got, like, a lot of parasites and things that don't exist in Europe, right? Like tropical diseases and stuff. And so, knowing how to farm in Africa, it's even more difficult than farming in Europe. And so, very people have the know-how on how to do it. And, like, it's good not to fuck with the system, because the moment you fuck with the system, you end up with a famine. And I generally don't understand, like, is farming really that profitable? Like, must you fuck with the farmers? Like, farming is one of those things where they're rich on paper, but they're very poor in reality, right? Like, what I mean by this is that the farming tools are insanely expensive. Like, tractors are expensive, the land is expensive, but, like, farmers don't sell that. They don't actually, you know, like, they may have $1 million house, but they never sell the house, so they never have the money in the bank account, so they can actually live at the edge of poverty, because, like, when they sell their grain, they're not selling it for that much. It's not, you know, like, it's grain. It's not like making a social media app like Facebook that brings you billions of dollars in revenue, right? It's not like making AI. No, it's like grain, and it's like, people need it to eat, and so that they barely make even, but they have, like, a lot of money stuck in tools, stuck in the land and everything. So, like, I don't understand why in South Africa they're really obsessed with the farmers. Like, out of all the classes of people that they can fuck with, they're fucking with the farmers in 2025. Like, this would make sense if it was, like, the medieval time period, if it were, like, back in history, like, I would understand it. But in current day, to fuck with the farmers, the only reason you want to do it is because you want to create a famine. Like, you want to artificially create a famine. I can't explain it any other way. V, I wanted to ask what happens if a bar rolls a 1 on a deal with the Elvish Kingdom. Well, you get the Zelensky. Like, literally, Zelensky and Trump is like, Zelensky was like, the GM was like, okay, Zelensky, listen. You're with the US president. He's going to give you aid. and is going to propose a mineral deal that will guarantee your nation's security, and it will also give you half of the money in resources into your nation's pocket. Everything is set up. Your team set it up. So it's just a formality. Like, let's go through it. And Zelensky is like, I want to roll charisma. And the DM is like, why do you want to roll charisma? Like, everything is set up. You don't need to roll. No. I want to roll charisma. I wanna get a better deal. I want to get American boots on the ground. I want to get more security. It's like, Zelensky, the deal is already signed. Okay, the deal is already made. Like, your team already discussed with their team. They came into an agreement with the contract. All you gotta do is to smile and sign it, right? If you want that, you can negotiate. No, I want to roll charisma. It's like, okay, fine. You're in front of the cameras. You get like a +5 advantage because like the world likes you. Roll charisma, and he rolls a fucking 1. It's like, Russia seems emboldened by Trump's denigration of Ukraine. No, what's actually happening is that if you look at history, every single war that took place becomes really nasty right before the peace negotiation, with the exception of World War II, where like even in World War II, but not on the German side. It was on the Soviet side, right? So like the Soviets risked really, really hard in Berlin just to capture more land than the Allies. And so like before peace is negotiated, both sides escalate the conflict, right? So like they will send thousands of men against the machine gun. They will like accelerate and negate all the casualties and just be like going ham. Why? Because they want a better hand at the negotiation. They want to occupy as much land as possible before the ceasefire, so at the negotiation they have something to negotiate with. Did I say World War I? I meant World War II. Man, where are you from and why do you hate Trump so much? When you're a mod for V, it makes 0 sense. I don't care if people hate Trump. Like, look, this is another thing that I don't understand. It's like, no, not everyone has to share my opinions and my view of things. And there are certain things that Trump does which I consider bad. Like let me tell you one of the things that I think it's really bad what Trump is doing. And again, I'm not an American citizen. And the reason I don't really criticize about this is because it doesn't affect me personally. Like, most of the stuff that I talk about is like, it affects Romania, or it affects culture, or the internet, or, like something or another. But this one, like, generally doesn't affect me. However, yeah, it's kind of a shitty thing to do. Trump picking on Canada. Now, hear me out, right? The problem isn't that Trump is picking on Canada. The problem is that Trump is... Well, the MAGA base is the problem. Because I go on Twitter, and I see now people literally hating Canadians for no fucking reason. And I generally don't know why. Like, why is this animosity? Like, 1 year ago, before Trump mentioned Canada, Americans had absolutely no beef with Canadians. And now all of a sudden, Trump says shit about Canada, and you see on Twitter, people going after Canadians. Like, why are you going after Canadians? What do you expect them to do? They're not responsible for the economy, right? Do you want them to suck the cock of your president while your president is tariffing their country? It's like, it's very weird. Like, there was a hockey match between America and Canada, and they ended up beating each other. And it's like, but why though? Like, it makes no sense. Now, from a strategic point of view, right? Well, apparently Trump is putting tariffs on Canada. China has now placed 100% tariffs on Canada. So, like, it's getting tariffs from both sides. The socialist government is going to drop the carbon tax on Canada. And on top of that, their economy is already shit. And so, I want to ask you, okay, like, America, do you think it's a good idea to turn Canada into Mexico? Because that's what you're doing. I'm talking about the economy, right? You're going to have a nation that's going to be incredibly poor. It's going to have like a lot of gangs. It's going to have a lot of crime. And you're going to now have two borders to worry about because there's going to be Canadians that are going to try to go into America. And so, I don't know. I mean, look, maybe Trump has a plan. I don't know what the conversations that are happening behind closed doors are. I don't know, like, because, like, at one point, tariffs are on, then tariffs are off, now they're on again. No, I get it that they had tariffs on you. I understand that, you know, but you think that could be negotiated behind closed doors rather than making it a public spectacle? And again, you know, at the end of the day, you're looking at the result, right? And so, like, the result is that, okay, they have tariffs on you, and you don't like that. Well, the other solution is to turn them into Mexico. Like, do you want another Mexico? And when I say Mexico, I don't mean like the culture. I mean a nation that has crime, it's got gangs, it's got people that are trying to flee over the border. Why not public? Well, because these types of negotiations don't happen in front of the cameras. Like international diplomacy isn't done with internet blood sports. You're forcing the other side to make weird decisions. That's why. But anyway, right, so apparently Canada is probably going to start dealing with Germany more. The fact that they're getting fucked by China is really weird. But it is what it is, I guess. Crap Romanian takes. Well, I don't know, you don't have to agree with them. But I don't like seeing Americans and Canadians argue with each other. It's just weird. Like, let me put it this way, right? Let's say there's a war with China in the future. And this is like a moderate to likely scenario, right? So like 5 years, 10 years from now, you're going to war with China. Do you want a hostile Canada? Because they're going to remember. You know, it's one thing when you're fucking with an ideology, like you're fucking with the Democrats or the woke ideology. It's another thing when you're fucking with an entire nation. And you're seeding the seeds of distrust and spite. Like, Canadians are going to be spiteful towards you, right? Like, I'm talking about the average Canadian that just has, like, a normal life, goes to work, comes home, now he's fired, the economy is shit, inflation is a rise, who's to blame? Donald Trump. How do you think he's going to feel? Now, the worst thing that's happening, by the way, is the fact that in Canada, the Conservatives were about to win. Like, little PP was doing pretty great in the polls. It was just like like you wouldn't even have to worry about it. It would have been a landslide victory. But after Trump started fucking with the Canadians, well, it seems that a more left-leaning government is now getting close, and it's kind of iffy. Like you may not know who's going to win. It's going like. Apparently, Canada is going to nuke itself now. Well, arm itself with nukes, I mean. Nuke up, right? Like, they're taking nukes from Europe. I mean, again, it is what it is. V thinks Canada would ignore China cause feels. I don't think it would ignore China. No, I think it will crush its economy. I think, like, Canada's economy is going to be killed. It cannot have, like, the United States fuck it and at the same time China fuck it, right? So they're not ignoring it. They're going to capitulate economically. Like, you're going to cause an economic crisis on a nation that's on your border. If you don't think this is going to have repercussions, you're delusional. You're going to have immigrants from Canada coming into the United States. You're probably going to have them having spite towards the US. So they're going to start dealing with Europe a lot more, probably Russia. We'll see. I don't know what will happen. But what I do know is that at the way things are going now, they're going to become... they're going to go into a recession. And a lot of people from Canada are going to suffer. Steve DeMaris, thank you for the $10 from California. Canada is not a serious country. We deserve this from the United States. The average Canadian has no clue how bad liberals have ruined the country. It's not salvageable. Well, I guess. But... apparently, people are still going to vote liberal. Because, again, I don't know why, though. I'm trying to explain why that happens, but I do think like maybe it's because Trudeau actually looked presidential in the last couple of speeches that he had. Like I never thought I would see this, but he actually looked like a statesman. You know, he wasn't talking about the LGBTQs. He wasn't talking about women's rights. No, like he actually was talking about economic issues, tariffs. Like, this is what they're doing to us. This is what we're going to do to them. So it actually looked like someone that tries to get in control of the situation. Vin, the Canadians are already spreading their Indian culture and sneaking across the border, and they don't double down on leftists. Yeah, they'll probably do it even more. I mean, look at Mexico, right? Like, Mexico is doing pretty bad financially, and they're electing only left-leaning people. Makes no fucking sense to me, but it is what it is, right? And so, it seems that when people go poor, instead of, like, trying to elect right-wingers, they elect more socialists. I didn't? No, seriously, like, watch the latest Trudeau videos. Like, it's so weird to see him out of character. Like, I have seen a lot of Trudeau interviews. And I'm not saying, like, he's a good politician or anything. I'm just saying he actually looks like a statesman. Like, if I see the Trudeau during the truckers or during, like, any other time in history, I would not say that he's a politician. I would say he's reading from a script. But in the last couple of speeches that he had, it does feel as if he's actually talking from... he's talking with passion. And he's acting like a leader, which is very weird, very bizarre. Never thought I would see something like that. Hi V, how's it going? We're still on the Canada issue. Yes. You mean the one where he's crying like a bitch? I think that's a strategic cry. I don't think like he's crying emotionally. I think like he wanted to look like that for the cameras. And it's because it resonates with the public. People like to see, like especially in Canada, people like to see that politicians give a fuck. It's what Obama did, right? Now he wasn't crying. It's basically like his eyes were watery. It's like, oh, look how much it hurts me to go through this. But it does cause public approval. So if it causes public approval, fucking do it. You know, like if wearing an apple on your head makes public approval. I mean, Mr. Beast did it, right? Like Mr. Beast thought that if you do the soy face in the thumbnail, you get more views. So guess what he did? The soy face in the thumbnail. When he found out that the soy face doesn't actually bring more views, he stopped doing the soy face in the thumbnail. From my American standpoint, the chosen person Minecrafted her way to the top. The people didn't necessarily vote for her. Yeah, but like before her, the other president was a socialist too. No, it is what it is. Like people just like socialism there. Bad take. Trudeau didn't come off as presidential. He's a prime minister. Presidential can be used for any leader, right? Like a prime minister. It doesn't necessarily... Like, I know the word is presidential, so you think of a president. But you can use it for a prime minister if the prime minister fits the role of the president. Well, okay, fine. He came off prime ministerial. Is that better? Look, I made a new word just for you. He came off prime ministerial. He tried to act presidential, and Trump made the exact observation you just did and told him he was only acting that way to stay in power because of the tariffs. And then he cried like a little baby. Oh, did Trump make the same observation I did? That's very interesting. I didn't know that. Oh my god, are we still talking about Canada? Did we talk about Canada for like 10 fucking minutes and it's already too much? Canada is a strong nation, to be honest. It's got a lot of potential. Like it's bigger than Germany, you know? It has more potential than the United Kingdom. It's been under horrible leadership, but it has like a nice culture. It's got a lot of potential. It just needs a good leader. It needs a good statesman that makes the tough decisions. That's what it needs. How long will Trump trade war? I don't fucking know. It's interesting to see if Trump's decisions actually end up with a positive or a negative, but it will take at least 2 or 3 years before we can tell that. Right? Because right now it looks like, oh, he's in control, he's in charge. But it will take like a couple of years to see how the economy looks. See, the thing with the 51st state is I don't even know if Americans want that. Like, do you want a California that badly? Because that's what you're getting. You're going to get another California, right? And so you're going to get a massive state that perpetually votes blue, that has like a lot of electoral colleges, very, very strong lib shit takes, very woke state. Do you want that? Is it because like there's more territory or why? And not to mention like the money lost with doing the unification. Like if you were to actually unify Canada and the United States, hypothetically speaking, it would cost billions if not trillions of dollars just to figure out like, okay, how do you do the legislation? Like Canada would have to change its constitution. You'd have to negotiate with the United Kingdom because they're part of the Commonwealth. So, like, you'd have to ask King Charles if he wants to allow Canada to abdicate, to leave the Commonwealth, right? I mean, technically, right, like, Canada is actually owned by the King of England. So, and it's interesting. I don't know. The thing is, like, do Canadians want it? That's another thing. Like, what do you do with the people that don't want to? Like, you have French Canadians that already want to secede from Canada. Right, you got French Canadians like in the Quebec that want independence. What do you do with them? It's not so easy. You know, I think like the 51st state is a joke. Like there's no fucking way that... I mean, it's not impossible. Like in theory, it could be done. And then America would become probably the world hegemon by far. Right? Like right now, it's still disputable. I see that the Trump administration is starting to treat China as a superpower rather than, you know, an upstarting competitor. From what I can see from the speeches, from the way America is acting, they're accepting the fact that China is now a superpower. They have the technology, the military to pose a serious threat, and they're trying to coexist with it rather than be antagonistic. That's my assessment of world politics right now. Some may disagree, but I think this is it. And so, if America was to actually have Canada, then you'd become a world superpower again. The only problem is that you would have a blue state the size of California. So yeah, you'd become a superpower, but you'd probably be a one-party power. You'd be under the Democrats forever and ever. People say that China will fall, and China is a paper target since the year 2000. And apparently it's the year 2025 and China is still there. In fact, it's actually more developed and more powerful than it was 10 years ago. So, I don't know. Observation on a Truth Social post. Moments later, Trudeau came out crying. I see. The entire Canadian identity revolves around not being the United States. And that is across the board. So, no, they would not be okay with it. Yeah, I think so. I mean, the way that they would be okay with it, there is a possibility that Canada would eventually be okay with it. If you impoverish them for like a decade, and, you know, they're desperate, there's like high crime, the economy is shit, they can't get a job, it's awful, and then you're like, hey, you can be the 51st state, that would be different. Like, that would actually work. But again, you would get a nation that's crippled economically, very expensive. People there would still have grievances and gripes, and they would vote against the Republican Party consistently because, again, like, they would view that the Republican Party did this to them, right? Like, imagine you're Canadian, and this happened to you. Like, you would despise the Republican Party. You'd think that they're the evil incarnate. And so, like, you would consistently vote out of spite. Like, you would vote for the most democratic people ever, nonstop, over and over. Anyway, let's talk about Mr. Somali. I actually got in trouble due to Mr. Somali. I lost subscribers because I made a couple of videos where I showed empathy and compassion. And apparently the internet wanted blood. They don't want compassion. Now, the reason I said that I wanted compassion It's not that I don't think you shouldn't face any punishment for what you did. But I was suggesting that maybe a decade is too much. You know, maybe 10 years for being a cheeky little shit online is a little bit too much. Maybe 5 is okay. And people hated that. They unsubscribed. It's like, V, no. He needs to suffer. And like, yeah, he needs to suffer. But does he need to suffer 10 more, V? More. And apparently the South Korean government agrees with you. Like the charges that he got are for 10 years. And apparently there's additional charges that are coming. So he may actually spend like 20 years in prison. And, there's a saying in Romania, if stupidity was illegal, in his case, I think he actually finds out that, yes, stupidity is illegal. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the fuck he's thinking. But apparently he arrived late with a hangover in the South Korean court. Wearing a MAGA hat. Wearing a MAGA hat in South Korea isn't really that bad. But appearing with a hangover and dressed like a clown in court is bad in every situation. Now, I gotta say, here in my country, I've been to a lot of court cases. It was part of my training as studying law. And even like the most impoverished person imaginable would still have a suit. Like if they couldn't afford one, they would borrow one. If they couldn't borrow one, they would dig a grave and steal one from a cadaver. But like they would still have a suit. You don't have to. Like it's not obligated by law. Like the judge won't kick you out if you don't. But when a judge sentences you, he's getting leeway. Like it says this is the crime, you get between 3 and 7 years. Like the difference in that number is insane. Right? Like if the judge says 2 or if the judge says 4, that's insane. And it's all subjective. Like the judge can literally say whatever the fuck he wants. Right? Like if the law says that the punishment for doing the crime is between 3 and 7 years, well, the judge can't say 2 years, the judge can't say 8. But if he says 3 or 7, that's subjective. It's literally up to the judge. And you don't want to piss him off. You genuinely don't want to piss him off, right? How do you piss him off? By going in there drunk. By going in there late. Not to mention, in this situation, the judge can even punish you extra. Contempt of court or whatever the South Koreans have. And it's like, why? I don't understand this man anymore. I think that he actually needs help. I think he doesn't need prison. I think he needs to be in a mental asylum. I'm not even kidding. Either that, or he is sure that the U.S. Embassy will get him off. This is the only way that he can now escape South Korean prison. If the U.S. Embassy, if Donald Trump or Mark Rubio intervenes on his behalf. I don't think that's going to happen, chat. I don't think that, like, not even the Biden administration. The Biden administration, they went for that BLM chick, which was a handball player, and she brought drugs into Russia. Now, you gotta understand, Eastern Europe, like, Americans complain that, oh my God, the war on drugs is so bad. Eastern Europe is the war on drugs dialed to 25. And, like, no one here is going to be sorry for you. No, you did the drugs, like, horrible. And you bring drugs into Russia. Like, what the fuck are you thinking, right? And so she gets locked up. And they traded Victor Bout for her ass. But even the Biden administration, I don't think they have, like, another Victor Bout for South Korea to get Johnny Somali out. And the thing is, like, there's this saying that Japanese people are polite, but South Koreans are polite to a point. No, Japanese people are polite to a fault, and South Koreans are polite to a point. This is what's happening. I think they want blood. I generally think, you know, because like most nations, they don't want to spend money on a prisoner unless they have to, right? Like if you're a citizen, if you're a non-citizen, they just want to deport your ass. Just fuck off. In most cases, right? Unless you're a danger to the nation, you're a terrorist. If they believe that by freeing you, you're causing other crimes, right? Your crime is hideous. And so, like, the only, like, this is what Japan did. Japan was like, fuck off. This is what Israel did. Israel was like, fuck off. South Korea is like, no, you're not leaving. No. Stay here. Drunken and not taking it serious is mocking the judge in the court. It's as if he begs for a more harsh sentence. Maybe like here's my take. Maybe he just doesn't want to be homeless. Like maybe he realizes that he's running out of money, he's getting banned from all the platforms, he's gonna end up homeless, and so like he wants a lot of time in prison. I don't fucking know, chat. I really can't explain it. American Outlier, thank you for the $50. Holy shit, V, the world isn't presidential. It's diplomatically. No, not really, because like he was acting presidential as in he was acting like a statesman, right? Like, I'm not saying that he was acting like a diplomat. No, like he was acting like a leader. Also, I don't want Canada as a 51st state. Nobody around me is entertaining this. But you foreigners and Trump cultists, normal Americans don't want this. I really don't like the U.S. territories. You say this, but I'm really curious, like, what would happen if you put it to a vote? Well, the Democrats probably would vote no, right? Because it's Trump, and, like, anything Trump does, like, they're against it. But it would be interesting, right? Like, to put it to a vote. If Canada wants to join, like, this is how it should be. If Canada wanted to join the United States, how many people would be okay with it being the 51st state? I agree, I don't agree, I abstain. You know, like making that vote would be interesting. I personally hate the 51st state take, but I understand why Trump wants it. It's because of the Arctic trade that Russia and China will dominate. Yes, it's the resources that Canada has. It's the land itself. It's also the people there, right? Like you fix some of the demographic problems. It's the Indians. Like we know that the American tech industry functions on Indians the same way that space travel in Dune functions on spice. So like you can't allow China to get all of those Indians that are in Canada. It's like Operation Paperclip all over again. Have you seen that clip where Johnny was on a train and nearly got his bum kicked for being a racist? Johnny Somali, from what I know, was going around like desperate, saying that if people pay him, they will let him punch him, I think, or something like that. Like he was getting in order to get beaten, right? Just so he can make super chats on camera. Like he has a level of self-awareness though, like realizing that people hate him a lot, and I think he's playing into the persona. But I don't know if he hasn't actually become the persona at this point. Legal Mindset mentioned that Somali, while doing jail time, he will be put by the government to work on the cabbage farms. No free meals over there. You know, here's one thing. I actually think that's better. I actually think that's a better system. In a supermax in the United States, right? Like let me tell you why I actually don't think like working on a cabbage farm is a bad idea. So this is apparently what should be civilized. I guess it's because the Americans do it, right? And if the Americans do it, then the whole world has to do it, because otherwise it's not civilized. But this is how a prison looks like in a supermax. In some you get a TV, but imagine you don't even have the TV, right? And so you have a place the size of a bathroom where you have like a bed, you got a stool and a table, and you got a toilet. That's it. Now, I want you to do an experiment. You don't actually have to do it, but just imagine, right? Go into your bathroom and lock yourself in there for like 2 hours. It's unpleasant, isn't it? There's nothing to do, right? Like, there's nothing to do. You look at the walls. Maybe you're looking outside, but like, you gotta stay there for 2 hours. Now imagine you gotta spend in this place for 10 years. And there's literally nothing to do. You can't talk with anyone. You can't do anything. I heard from people that spent time in the SHU, in the isolation, that they would purposefully like flood their little room, or they would do something to antagonize the guards just so that the guards come in and beat them, and that was like the entertainment for the month. Like that's like they actually got to feel something. And like, between this and the cabbage farm, no offense, I would take the cabbage farm any fucking time of the day. This is torture. This should be illegal. Like, there is absolutely nothing to do. It would drive a person insane. The people who go through this, they explain that they have no more memories because every single day is the same. Like, time becomes a mush. Like, you don't build new things. You don't build new memories. It's like the only thing you have is the old memories. It's horrible. And so being on a cabbage farm is not that bad compared to this. I spend my life like this. Supermax is like free accommodation. You probably have the laptop or a computer, right? I'm full of soy. No, I get that it's a punishment, but like, doesn't the American Constitution say that you're not allowed to have cruel and unjust punishment? Would you do this to a child, right? Like, would you punish your child by locking him in a room for a week? No, that's cruel and unjust, isn't it? But locking someone for 10 years? Other nations don't do this, by the way. I don't know. I think like this level of isolation for such a long term is definitely cruel and unjust. It fucks with people on the brain. I would rather go to the cabbage farm. The cabbage farm is a punishment as well, isn't it? Right? So you're going to the cabbage farm, it's a punishment. But I would rather take that than the American system. It's Jesus. There's not cruel and unusual for adults who do crime. I don't know. Take into account that a lot of people can just find themselves in prison. Like, you do a car accident, that's your fault, you know? And all of a sudden you find yourself in prison. Just saying, it can happen. Or you can go without committing anything, you know? Like, there have been people that didn't do anything and they got locked up. I'm sympathizing for a terrorist. Da-da-dum. Yeah, well, you know, here's the thing. I keep hearing this. It's like, well, you're sympathizing for bad people. Well, yeah, but like, prisons are made for bad people. And if you want to be considered civilized, that you either follow the Constitution where it's like, you don't support cruel and unjust treatment, or you do. Now, if we do support cruel and unjust treatment, then my God, I got a lot of ideas. Like, I got ideas you guys can't even fucking imagine, you know? And we can make it a game show, and it's going to be a competition, and you can even make money. Like you can put a minefield and just ask them to go, and you can put bets on who manages to go through the minefield. Like, if we're okay with cruel and unjust, like, let's make it properly. Let's make it an entertainment for the kids and family, you know? Like, you can be creative. You're not supposed to torture people in prison. You take their freedom away, and that is the punishment. See? Drax Redux agrees with me. Anyway, like, this is just my take. I can't change the world. Like, I'm not going to influence the American system. But I'm just saying that I don't think it's civilized. I think it's worse. I think, like, medieval punishment was better. Like, medieval punishment was corporal and applied swift, right? You get lashes. You get your nose chopped off. You get your ear chopped off. You know, but like, I would still get that they're like 10 years in isolation. Like, you get the punishment, people know what you did, you're marked in the community, and then you just go back to it. You know, your life isn't ruined. You don't waste like 10 years of your life on the taxpayer money, on the taxpayer dough, where you're like being kept in a place. And then when you go out, you can't even reintegrate in the community because like no one wants to hire you. No one wants to give you a job. I don't think like the system is better. I think the medieval system was a lot better. Seriously, like the medieval system that we consider cruel and unjust and is still practiced in medieval society today, in Middle Eastern society today, I think it's a better system than this. I think the reason the system goes is because of the private prison system, which in it by itself is an aberration. Like, prisons should never be private. How's your life not ruined? Well, like, you get 10 lashes, you go to another village. You move. You go into another place. You get a hand chopped off. Okay, well, you can still work. You can still do other things. There are people that live with one hand. Right? Like, there are other ways that you can make money. But, like, if you get 10 years in a prison and you live in a world of paperwork and bureaucracy and everyone knows what you did and now, like, you go out and you can't find a job and everything, it's like, you're going to commit crime again. That's why recidivism rates are high. If you want to see unjust punishment, look up the Timothy Cole case in Texas. What happened to him was so bad, they enacted a law in his name. If you want to see unjust punishment, look at the taxation system. Every fucking day I got taxed. What if you're a guitarist? Well, I guess you need to learn how to sing with your mouth. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Gonna update some videos now on my other channel. And take care.